Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. So today I wanted to rank all of the palettes that I have received and tried in 2023. I did a similar video to this last year and really enjoyed it, just kind of recapping all of the palettes that I've brought into my collection this year. So I thought that would be another fun video to do today. So I do have 10 palettes to talk about today. One of them is just kind of a special mention, so I will go ahead and start with that one. So this is my Mockingbird Beauty Mockingbird palette, and for those of you who don't know, this past year I did start a makeup brand, and this palette is my first ever product, first eyeshadow palette, and I am so proud of it, and I just didn't really feel like I could include it in the ranking fairly, so I just wanted to share this one because I did technically bring this one into my collection this year, so it would be a part of this, but it just didn't feel like I could fairly rank this since it is my own palette. But here is the packaging, a little hand-drawn Mockingbird. I hand drew that, and then I hand designed this entire palette. It is cruelty-free, woman-owned, and if you are interested, I will have my website linked down below if you want to go pick this palette up for yourself. I am currently having a 30% off sale with the code Christmas30. If you are interested, you get 30% off your entire order. If you are interested in picking this palette up, we also have a couple fun accessories as well. So I'm going to stop rambling about this, but overall just super proud of this palette and this brand that I've created. Alright, moving on to the actual ranking portion of this video. Starting with number 9, we have my Clarity Evil Mermaid palette. So this is the newest palette within my collection, and to be fair to it, I have only tested it out once in my first impressions, which was last week, I believe. So here is what this one looks like on the inside. Mine obviously looks a little bit destroyed on the bottom here. It did come a little broken, which is totally fine. There's still a lot of product within these pans, so not a big deal, but it is a bit crumbly. The reason this one is ranking lower is, 1, the color story just isn't something I'm going to use every day, and 2, the quality of this is not my absolute favorite. I think it performs okay. My biggest problem with it is just how messy it is, and it doesn't really have to do with the fact that the shades are broken. They are just so, especially the shimmers are super glittery and sparkly, so it creates a lot of fallout on my face, and the mattes perform okay. Again, I have only tested this out once, so really don't know that I've given it a fair shot quite yet. So this one could be so much better in the future, but based on the one time I've tried it, it just was not my favorite. So that is why it is ranking lower. The shades are still beautiful. The shimmers are super impactful. They're just very messy to work with. Next up, number 8 is going to go to my Juvia's Place The Sweet Pinks palette. This one is a super cute palette, but it is obviously monochromatic, and pinks are not a color I'm going to be reaching for, especially these super bright pinks, on a daily basis, and that is the only reason this one is ranking low. I think the quality of this one is nice, and it is really nice to have a dedicated pink palette within my collection. I feel like I sometimes am lacking pinks within the palettes I have. There's a couple here and there, but to have a really dedicated palette towards this color is nice. It's just not one I'm going to be reaching for, especially over palettes that have more variety within them. So that is why this one's ranking lower. If you love pinks, this one is really nice. Like I said, I really do like the quality of it. It's just not going to be an everyday palette for me. Next up at number 7, we have my Nomad Royal Europe palette. It kind of hurts my heart to put a Nomad palette so low, but I have a few others within this video as well, which will be ranking higher. So this one I think is super cool. I love the multi-chrome shades that they did. Again, this just isn't a color story I'm going to be reaching for on a daily basis. Unlike the other two, this one does have more variety, and I have a lot of fun playing with this one, especially for Instagram and YouTube. I did just do my Christmas look with this on Tuesday, so if you're interested, go check that out. That one was super fun to create, and every time I create a look with this palette, I love it. I think it's so fun to play with. This would definitely rank higher if I was going to use these shades more, but they are a little bit darker, more jewel toned, which is super pretty and honestly quite unique within my collection. But I am definitely more of a light, more neutral girl on a daily basis. So this one just isn't quite what I'm reaching for on a daily basis, but I still absolutely love it. And Nomad has a special place in my heart. I have loved all of their releases, and I feel like I've started kind of becoming a little collector of their palettes, so super excited to have this one still. Just, again, it's more for special occasions for me. Next up at number 6 is my Rude Cosmetics Roaring 20s Excessive palette. This is another palette that is part of a collection. So Rude Cosmetics has now come out with 5 Roaring 20s palettes. This is their 4th one. So I do have the 5th one to talk about still. Hint, hint. I like this palette. I think it's pretty. I think it's easy to use for everyday looks. I actually just used this one the other day, and I do really like the looks I create. I just feel like, especially compared to some other palettes within my collection, there's nothing super special about this one. It has some really pretty shades, again, super easy for me to use on a daily basis. It checks all those boxes, but there's nothing that really makes it stand out above that. But with that said, I still really enjoy having it within my collection. I really enjoy collecting these Roaring 20s palettes, so I don't think they could make a color story that I'd say no to at this point with this collection. The one shade that I don't really like is this Schnozzle shade. I just don't understand those shades. I haven't tried it yet, and I just really don't know how to use it or what the real point of it is. So if you guys know, please let me know, because that shade is untouched within this palette. But yeah, pretty much an average palette right in the middle of the row for this ranking. But if you love this color story, Rude Cosmetics does have a really nice formula in my opinion. I have loved the palettes that I have tested out from them, so if this palette is calling your name, I would recommend it. Okay, the next 3 were super hard for me to rank, and this one ended up at number 5. It is my Nomad Ghost Town USA palette. It is so pretty. It just, I don't know really why I ranked it lower than the next 2, but I did decide to. I think it might be because this one was kind of their Halloween release, and I haven't had it really too much outside of that season yet. I know we're getting more into the Christmas winter season now, but I think after a year of testing it out and seeing how much I use it, I will fully be able to see my thoughts on it. I feel like right now I just think of it as more of a Halloween fall palette, so I want to see how much I continue to reach for it throughout this next year. I think the color story of this is gorgeous. The shades in here perform super nicely. This shade right here is a beautiful everyday lid shade for me. I have loved using that shade. Nomad just always does such a nice job with their color stories and their formulas. I am a really big fan, so super happy to have this one in my collection. This is not a bad palette at all. I absolutely love it. I just decided to rank these next ones above it, just slightly. Alright, next up at number 4, we have my Pacifica Purple Nudes palette. I think this one is so cute. I picked this up at the very beginning of the year. It is my first time trying Pacifica, and they're a brand that has been on my radar for quite a few years now, and I finally decided to pick a palette up from them. I love purple eyeshadow, especially these more neutral purples. So this palette just really spoke to me and I have loved it. It isn't a palette that I use every day, but when I want to reach for these more purple looks, I absolutely adore this palette. And even if you don't want to reach for purples every day, it does have some other options as well with the browns and then this kind of pinkish matte shade. So you have a slight bit of variety within this palette, but for the most part it is a little bit more on the monochromatic side. But since I love purple so much, this one did just rank higher, and I didn't really feel like I needed the variety within this palette that I love in so many other palettes. This one is just so cute and so easy to use. Alright, top 3. Number 3 goes to my NYX Ultimate Flamingo Frost palette. This packaging is absolutely adorable, and then the color story as well is super cute and fun for the holiday season. This is another one I'm going to be interested to see how much I reach for it year round, but since we are in this holiday Christmas season, this one is definitely at the forefront of my mind, so I am loving it. I think the color story in here is just super cute. You have your more holiday shades with the pinky reds and a couple pops of green, but you can also create some really easy neutral looks, and I just like to have that variety within this palette. I think this is just so fun, and I love NYX palettes. This is my second one from them, and I like the quality. I think they are more on the affordable side, and yeah, I just love this palette. Alright, next up we have my Rude Cosmetics Roaring Twenties Indulgence palette. So this is the 5th palette they have come out with for the Roaring Twenties collection, and I am ranking it 2nd for my 2023 palettes. I went back and forth with this one and the first place one for a while, but I ended up going with this one 2nd, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with this palette. I absolutely love it. I haven't reached for it as much as I might like, but I do have a larger collection, so it's kind of hard to solely focus on one palette and test it out, but it's definitely one I know I'm going to be reaching for. I love the color story of this. I love the neutrals mixed with some of the more like greeny shades, and then Opulence and Manhattan are 2 of my favorite shades within this palette. I think they are gorgeous. There is just something about this color story that speaks to me. I know it's a little bit more neutral than some of the other palettes that I have talked about, but this neutral palette isn't boring to me. I find it super exciting, and whenever I look into it, I am inspired and I want to create looks with it, and I think that's just the mark of a good palette. So super good. I absolutely love it. The formula is nice, and yeah, just nothing but good things to say about this palette. And coming in at number 1 for the year, we have my Nomad Okavango Safari palette. Another neutral palette. I'm a little surprised. I have been getting more into color recently, but I am a neutral girl at heart, and the reason this one is ranking first is because I have also been super into green eyeshadows this year, and having these fun pops of green just really inspire me and take this from just a neutral palette to something a little more special within my collection. And again, I love Nomad's formula, and this one is just so pretty, and I'm just absolutely loving it. So those are the 9 palettes that I tested out this year and brought into my collection, ranked for you all. Let me know what you guys think, and also let me know what your favorite palette of 2023 was. I always love hearing what you guys are enjoying at the moment. Give this video a thumbs up if you did enjoy. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future uploads. And with all of that said, I will see you in my next video, and Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays! Bye!